Well, hello and welcome to Impact Online. It's episode 5 of CFE, Consumer Financial Education, with myself, Dylan Hartland. It's a very good evening to you. Myself and Lerato Jaxa from Heartlines, in partnership with Nedbank, representing you with this program, which basically speaks about financial health and your overall well-being when it comes to money. Something that is very important in our lives and very crucial. Even scripture tells us that we should be good stewards of our finances, not only for ourselves, but it affects our family, it affects our economy, many different aspects. Today is episode 5, and we're going to be talking about budgeting for your expenses. Yes, including your expenses as a crucial part of your budget, making sure that you're able to make ends meet, as well as still saving that emergency fund, saving all the different things that are very important and crucial, as well as paying off your debt. Those are some of the few things that we're going to be diving in today. My name's Dylan Hartland. It's a very good evening to you. Please do not forget to comment throughout the program today, but let's kick things off the right way and welcome Lerato once again on another episode. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just been an awesome journey being here with you.
Yeah, and I've really been enjoying it, talking the ins and outs of finances.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, I mean, in terms of our surroundings, we've gone from extremes.
Yeah.
If I think of the first episode I had with Jeff, Jeff was, in a different location to me almost.
Right.
And now you and I were sitting across each other on a table.
I mean, who knows? Next time we'll probably be in a restaurant or something.
Exactly. Yeah, there might just be some muffins here in front of us.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, now we thought we'd bring some of the nature in our surroundings.
Beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's a beautiful setup.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, we love nature and we love plants.
Awesome.
And plants just make us really passionate. But let me not get into that. I mean, that's a topic for a different day.
For another day.
Yeah, for another day. Now we're talking about money and how money can buy you plants.
Yeah. Nice plants.
Nice plants, very nice plants. So we're talking about budgeting again.
Yes.
Last week we touched a bit on how important it is to budget, how important it is to balance things out with your emergency fund and your income and the extra income, all those different aspects. And we've spoken a lot about income.
Yes.
But now we're tackling expenses.
Expenses.
Yeah.
Yes, it's expenses. So now we'll take a journey into understanding what expense is and how that fits into a budget.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, so let's just get, if you're watching now, strap in. It's going to be a good show. Direct to you already saying they love the nature surroundings.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very nice. Please do continue to engage as you're watching. Also, a reminder to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. This is the 5th episode. You can go back and watch the past 4 episodes. We've got a few more to go, and it's very important information that we're saying, Lerato. It's actually quite a exclusive thing that's happening over here. You know, that we have the privilege to have you here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us and always just engaging, no matter what happens. But anyway, let's jump into it. Do you want to start unpacking perhaps just expenses as we start off the episode?
Yeah. Before I even get into expenses, I just want us to go into what the Word of God says. In the past few weeks, we've spoken about maintaining financial health or being in a good, healthy financial state. And then we've spoken about different verses in the Bible that talk to us about being planners, being able to plan our finances, being able to plan our future. And now, as we go further, we'll realize that we will need wisdom. You will need wisdom for us to be able to plan properly and budget properly. And this is what the Bible says on James 1. I'll start reading from verse 5. It says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him." So at this time, I just want to encourage Dylan, someone who's looking at themselves and saying, but I'm not going to be able to do a budget. I've never done a budget in my life before. I've tried doing a budget, but I've failed. I just want to encourage you tonight that it is possible. You can ask God for wisdom and he will give you wisdom. He will grant you wisdom. The Bible says he gives generously. It is possible you can walk this journey of budgeting and you can make it happen for you.
Yeah. And I think we sort of tend to lose perspective when it comes to budgeting and failing. Where, like you mentioned, we set out a budget and then things just don't go our way. Understanding that life happens, But if we at least have a plan in place,
Yes.
it can help mitigate the negative part of life happening.
And just as you say that, one of the biggest mistake that you can do is not having a budget at all.
Yeah.
That is number one budget mistake.
Yeah.
So not having a budget is not going to help you.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Now, when we speak about a budget, let's maybe get a bit practical. How do we draw up a budget?
Before we draw up a budget, I think I just want to go into explaining what the expense is, so that you know that when you draw up a budget and you're putting in your expense, what is this you are talking about.
Yeah.
So last week we spoke about income, that income is money that is coming in that you've worked for, or maybe a gift, or maybe money that you've received from maybe an insurance or something. And expense is basically the opposite of income. An expense is money that is going out. This is money that you are going to pay when somebody is rendering a service for you, or is money that is going out because of you are spending it to buy this and that.
Yeah.
And then when you start drawing up a budget, and these are some of the things that you need to think about. What are the regular expenses that you have? These are the essential expenses. So you have the essential expenses that you cannot run away from.
Yeah.
You know that you cannot cut off. Like, for instance, your rent.
Right.
Your rent is something that you have to pay, and you know it should be there all the time.
Yeah.
And then you also have the non-essential essentials expenses. These are expenses that you can cut off. Like you can maybe 1 month you can use like 150, but the following month it's like, no, I'm still cool, I can use 110. So these are flexible. So this would be things like buying food. So obviously if you bought food last month, maybe you bought ketchup or something in your home, and you still have ketchup the following month, you don't have to buy ketchup. You can save up on that money and buy something different. So those are the non-essential expense. And then we've got the luxury expense. And Dylan, this
we love
is
these.
Yes. And this is very important for budget.
Yeah.
You don't want to make your budget to be boring, right? So when you draw up a budget, you need to categorize your budget in the essential expense, non-essential expense, and then a luxury expense.
Right.
And then please make sure that you have your luxury expense in there. Like if you like coffee, I've said this before, if you like your coffee, make sure that you put your coffee in. Maybe instead of having it 5 times a week, put it in maybe once or twice a week. So it's important that you don't make budgeting boring, because of if it's boring or if it's too strict, then you are just planning to fail yourself in terms of budgeting. So luxury expenses are those things that you like to do, like going out for a drink sometime, or going out to a party. Just maybe bring them to a limit instead of doing it all the time or too often. Just bring them to the limit. But those are the categories so your expenses, you need to put them in those 3 different categories.
Yeah. Now we've mentioned 3 types or 3 categories of expenses. When we think about expenses, how do they correlate, and how do these different types correlate when we think about a budget? When we think about how we should structure our budget and be able to, make sure that it applies to us as individuals, and those different expenses that to some people are necessities almost. Like you said, obviously the ones that we can't run away from, the ones that rent and food, the things we need to live, whether it's for ourselves or it's for our families or anything to that magnitude. When we think about these types of expenses, how do they form part of a budget, and how should we understand these 3 different types?
Okay, so in your budget, remember we've categorized them: essential, non-essential, and then luxury. You also have to know what are fixed.
Yeah.
Are fixed expenses.
Right.
So fixed expenses would be like you have a home loan. you know it's fixed for a certain term, and then for that term you will be paying a standard. So if it's 1,500 rands for that month, it's going to be 1,500 for a fixed term. So you know I'm going to pay this much money for so long.
Yeah.
So those are there without a fail, or a car payment or a home loan.
Right.
Those are there every month.
Yeah.
So you need to know that. So those are easy to plan for. And then we also have the variable expenses. So these differ, they change, they fluctuate. Yes,
yeah.
They fluctuate. So one time you will pay maybe 50 rands, and then next time you don't have to pay at all. So they change on based on the need.
Yeah.
And then we've got this one that we always talk about. I think we've over-mentioned it because it's very important.
Yeah.
The unforeseen expenses.
Yeah.
So when you budget, you need to have the unforeseen expenses. In case you have a breakdown, or your daughter or your son or yourself is not feeling well, or your spouse is not feeling well, you know that you can take from that money that you've saved for the unforeseen.
Yeah. I sort of want to add something on that. I was chatting to a very wise gentleman earlier this afternoon, and he was telling me about having an emergency fund, but also perhaps looking at having like a rainy day fund as well, something that a rainy day that's planned for, if we can say it like that.
Yes.
Where you're going to need to buy new tires. You're going to need to service your car.
Yes.
Things that are bound to happen, that you then sort of have the mentality that you tap into that savings account, opposed to emergency, where you save that for things that are literally
urgent,
really urgent. But the rainy day fund is more something you can plan towards, knowing that should that day come, whether it's a dentist appointment for a toothache, or it's a tire that blew and you need to now pay for it. I think of maybe just adding that to your budget as well, to have something that you plan
absolutely
for.
And I've said this is a customized budget, must be customized to you as a person. So we can't generalize budgeting. So what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. But you need to be able to categorize your expenses accordingly. I've seen some people actually breaking down emergencies as well. So you'd have an emergency fund, and under an emergency fund there's medical emergency, there's house emergency, or vehicle emergency. So some people do it differently. As long as you know that at the end of the day you have funds that will assist you in terms when emergencies come.
And I think it also comes down to just being realistic when you're budgeting. You are getting your money, you are spending your money, you know where it needs to go, and you need to be very realistic about that. You know, after a year, you're going to, if you have a vehicle, you need to pay for a new license disc. Whereas I found myself in the past, the renewal for the license disc comes, and then you're like, oh man, where am I going to get this money from? We need to start planning for those things. We need to add that into our budget. And we need to make sure that that's not an unforeseen thing. We have a car, and we know that we need to do it. I've got a question here, or rather, Direct to You's got a question on the YouTube channel over here saying, how do I budget for one-time expenses?
I'm glad, because the next part will answer that.
It will. Okay. So stay tuned for that. We're going to answer your question very shortly. If you also have any questions throughout today's episode, you can pop it down in the comment section, as we are live right now, and we'll be sure to answer them the best we can. So obviously now we're moving into, we spoke about expenses, we're moving into different steps involved in a budget.
We've spoken about this as well, and we'll continue to speak about this because it's important. We don't want to find ourselves starting a journey that we don't finish. So it's important that when you start with budgeting, you review. You continuously review your budget and see that, are you on your journey to reaching your financial goal? So, and to answer the question, which is now step 2, when you budget, so you need to set a financial goal. So let's say this is a one-time financial goal. You know how much you have in your account, and you've established your budget.
Right.
So as a result, you know how much is left off and how much you can save towards your financial goal. Say, for instance, you want to buy maybe a laptop.
Yeah.
And you know, okay, for me to reach my financial goal of buying a laptop, it'll take me so much time to save so much money. So you need to be, I think I spoke about it earlier on, that you need to be realistic in terms of your time frame. So make measurable goals. You know, don't just say, okay, this is a one-time thing, it's a laptop, I want to buy it, I've got money, I'll go back to the budget next month, you know, and just buy it, because then you are putting yourself under pressure that you shouldn't be under. You know, unnecessary pressure, basically. So instead, start planning from, if you want your laptop, don't just want your laptop like as in next month I want a laptop. Right? So start planning, okay, my laptop is been old and you know how it's working. In the next 6 months I'll need a laptop. Start saving towards you know, your laptop that way. And then you also need to decide, you know, to have a time frame of how to reach that, or how long it's going to take you to reach that. And you also need to review. Once again, you need to review and adjust your spending. So you want a laptop, you need to save 150, right? So you need to go back to your
150,000.
So let's say you need 150 to save towards. Save towards your
hypothetically,
your
right? Because
right.
if you're
Hypothetically.
for that
so this is just an hypothetical situation. You know, so you want to buy a laptop, and you know that after you've done your budget, you've got 150 left over, which you normally put into your savings. But there are other non-essential things that you buy every now and then, or luxury expenses that you spend on every now and then. You can go back and look at that and look at, what can I sacrifice from my luxury that I can add to my 150 so that I can reach my goal, you know, at a certain time period. So it's very important that you review, because reviewing will give you an idea of how long it will take you to achieve your financial goal.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be jumping also now into some methods that can be utilized when we think about a budget, and some practical things. We're getting very practical in this episode today, which I think is really good. Because we can sit here and we can say all of these nice things, but practicality allows people to implement it in their lives. So I think if we talk about the methods and the things for someone who's wondering, I should really start a budget, but you know, how exactly should I go about this? I think let's maybe give some key insight into that.
Like I said, it works differently for everyone, but number one, very, very important, budgeting needs discipline. If you are not disciplined, then you will find yourself in a roller coaster of budgeting. So that is number one. Number two, you need to determine for yourself what works best for you. There are some people that prefer cash, you know, to deal with cash because it's more practical for them, where they see money, okay, they categorize their money. There's envelope, it's called the envelope budgeting, where you write in your envelopes, you write, this is for groceries, this is for a car, this is for whatever, you know, you just name your name envelopes, right? Name your money,
give
basically.
Give your money a name, like we spoke about a while ago.
Yes. So some people prefer to do it like that. And then if you are disciplined enough, that's easy for you to do, and do that. Do what works for you. But another one that you can do is stop orders. So stop orders are for those of us that are not very, very much disciplined. So a stop order would be, you have a stop order, you give an upcoming date for a loan that you need to pay. You communicate with your creditor, and you communicate with the bank that you are banking with, and you tell them on such a date, I would like so much money to go into this account. I'm paying a car loan. And this will just make sure that on that date, without a fail, that account, that loan is paid. And then another thing that a stop order, I like a stop order myself. Another thing that a stop order can help you with is saving. Sometimes when you don't have a stop order, Dylan, you can be just, what's the word I'm looking for?
Stingy. I don't know.
Not stingy. You can be tempted.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, sorry, I was going in a different direction.
No, you can be tempted because you've got money. If you want to physically put money into your savings account,
right.
It's easy to say, I would rather I buy this now and then I'll save double next month, which is a saving mistake.
Yeah.
So putting a stop order on your saving as well is a good financial or budgeting skill that you can get for yourself.
Right.
And then the next one that we talk about, it's a stokvel. Some people call it a society, some people call it a stokvel. So what happens in a stokvel is that either gentlemen or ladies or a group of both, they come together on a monthly basis and they put money in a bank together.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, they separate the money. So that's another thing, another step or another way that you can make your money work for you, because you want to achieve a certain financial goal, but you can't, and maybe you don't have the proper skill or maybe discipline sometimes.
Right.
A stokvel would be one of the things that has worked. Actually, stokvels have been working for years.
Yeah.
People have bought houses and have built mansions because of stokvel. So a stokvel is one of the methods that you can use to reach your financial goal or to reach the budgeting stage that you want to get yourself. And club accounts as well. So club accounts work almost the same. Stokvels have different categories. So there's stokvels where a group of people would come and they say, this month it's your money, we are all giving you a certain amount each person. And then some stokvels, they put money together into an account and at the end of the year they share the money. A club account, on the other hand, is specific. A club account is when a group of people put money into the account every month, and then at a certain date they take out that money and they share their money.
Yeah.
So those are some of the methods that you can use to help you achieve your budgeting journey.
Yeah, and I think an important thing as well is something that's quite a misconception is banks aren't always out to get you.
Yes.
They're not. Banks, lots of people can think of them as a negative thing. But banks offer some very good interest savings accounts and very good financial plans as well through banks.
Yes.
So I think to also not fixate on the negativity. Obviously, if you owe the bank money, they're not going to be happy with you because they want their money, right? That's just it just makes common sense. But I think to shift our focus that banks can help us out as well. They can really help us. A stop order is something that a bank can do. And that's literally what you can set up in your bank app or what have you, that it takes an X amount of money and puts it into your savings account, ensuring that you save that amount per month should you want to spend it on something else, like we mentioned. When we think about expenses, I think something that is sort of overlooked in a way, is perhaps not put in the category of essential when it needs to be considered essential, is debt.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's debt from a loan, debt from many different aspects, whether it's credit or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think let's look at how we can categorize debt, because when we speak about budgeting, we're talking about putting our money in envelopes, in categories, for us to say this is going to rent, this is going to food, this is going to X amount. So I think let's touch a bit on debt management as well in your budgeting.
Yeah. Debt is definitely an expense. And there are two types of debts. You can have a primary debt. So a primary debt is a debt that you have to have some kind of insurance on, or like you have to assure your debtor that you have something that they can they can repossess or get of you if you are unable to pay the debt. Those
Right.
are the primary debts, and it is an expense. And
Yeah.
then there's secondary debts where you don't necessarily have to have something that your borrower can repossess or take.
Right.
When you are unable to pay. So, and when it comes to debt can be overwhelming and can be discouraging, especially when it comes to doing a budget. So it's very important that we prioritize paying our debt. We've spoken earlier on about just paying off or trying to take off your debt one debt at a time.
Yeah.
So prioritize paying debt. But if you have a debt that you are in areas, so areas you incur them if you haven't paid according to the agreement that you've had. So say for instance you are supposed to pay on the 28th, and then you didn't pay on the 28th, maybe you paid on the 30th, then you will get areas. So if you are in any areas of your debt, you want to start with that. So that you can eat out all the areas and then and start paying off that debt.
Right.
And so you want to take care of debts that could get you in trouble.
Yeah.
So those ones, that's what you want to get rid of quickly.
Yeah.
But also it's important that we prioritize paying our debt, because of not prioritizing paying debt can be very, very difficult and can make budgeting a very, very difficult journey.
Yeah, and I think the fact of the matter is also this all comes down to being realistic. If you have X amount that you owe to certain individual, that money is not going to disappear.
Yeah.
And it's not like a dentist appointment that you can avoid until you have a cavity.
Yeah.
You need to go to the dentist,
Yes.
all those type of things. It's something you need to plan for and plan
Yeah.
to also get rid of as well.
Another debt mistake that a lot of people do is that when you realize that your financial state is not the same as when you took the debt, you don't go and to communicate this. It's important that if you had borrowed money from a certain institute, if your money state changes, you need to go back to them and explain your situation and come up with an agreement. Can we cut down my payment plan from 150 to 100 rands?
Yeah.
So that you are in a safe place. Because if you don't do that, then you'll find yourself in a lot of debt trouble, and then you've got a lot of people that are calling you, and we know ourselves, people when they call and be like, it's like they are bothering you, and you are the one that
they
went.
call you and then it's like, no,
Oh, yeah.
put this thing away.
Right.
Someone take this phone from me.
So it's important to communicate. So
Yeah.
when you find yourself in a situation that you cannot pay as what you've agreed, please call them.
Speak to them. Yeah.
And come up with a new plan, a different plan that is going to work for you.
Yeah, right. Budgeting for expenses. That's what we've been speaking about on this episode. Next week we're going to tackle budgeting again, the third part of this series, and the 6th episode of the CFE Consumer Financial Education Initiative with Nedbank, as well as Heartlines, and you with myself, Dylan Hartland from Impact Online, and Lerato Jaxa from Heartlines, as you can see so beautifully on her, I almost say t-shirt, but I think it's a golf shirt?
It's a golf shirt.
Yeah, golf shirt.
It's a
Sorry, golf shirt. My
please.
bad. Golf shirt that it says Heartlines as well. Lerato, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we say goodbye, finally, just a reminder of that leaflet from Nedbank.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have. I just want to quickly read
Yes, go for
Ephesians
that.
5.
Yeah.
Ephesians 5, verse 15. It says, it reads as follows: "Be careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our opportunity to be financially healthy. We are even given an advice from the Bible that we need to be wise. Let us be wise. Let us take this journey with seriousness. And to continue taking this journey with seriousness, you can go to the website www.nedbank.co.za, and you can download a booklet that is going to take you through how to properly budget for yourself. Thank you.
Great stuff, Lerato. Thank you so much for that reminder as well. Thank you so much for joining us on this 5th episode of CFE. Please, a reminder for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you notice, we are 900 and something subscribers, so we're almost to 1,000. This is just the beginning of our journey here on Impact Online. We are planning to do many different shows, so please, I encourage you to share the channel with those around you, your loved ones, people that can benefit not only from this show, but benefit from just good, encouraging, engaging Christian content is what we're aiming to do on this channel. But from myself, Dylan Hartland, and Lerato Jaxa, yeah, there it is. It's a goodbye, and God bless you.
Thank you.